South Africa got no ring.
Yes, you remember that one?
Sister, like no ring.
But that's real though. You can't just enter like someone.
Yeah, you must greet. Have a proper.
Yeah.
Before, no.
So, if you missed it in all of that chaos, the topic is: do black men and women know how to please each other? If I'm getting it correct.
Yeah. Do they know? No, besides please, but do they know? But do they know what the other wants? And most importantly, for me, the crux of the conversation is: do we know what it takes for us to create like strong, healthy relationships, and therefore strong, healthy families, and therefore strong, healthy societies?
Can I just say something?
And is that it? Sorry, just
and?
is that necessarily the hierarchy, or like people can create strong families and strong societies without strong relationships? That's what we're talking about today.
So for me, is do black men or women even know what they want themselves?
That's a good place
Because
to start.
we start with trying to be with someone, and most of the time, like now, what I'm finding is that a lot of black men are still trying to figure out what's happening in their lives. I think it's not just
With
COVID
themselves.
now, but it's everything you've ever been taught and told is not what it is. You know, you're not married at 25 with a beautiful house and a Lamborghini and the picket fence. You know,
Right there.
Well, like,
no, but it is. That's exactly where it's at,
Sure.
and that's
these are facts.
and what's been on TV and what we've been told as kids is that should be where you're at, and then
By
you go
25,
home.
by 30.
If you're normal,
If you know.
If
you're not broken.
Yeah.
But
This is the magic.
you go home and they're like, "How I know? You're not married.
Yeah.
You don't have you don't have kids. You don't have a house. You don't have."
We hitting 35s. We're almost at 35 and we ain't hit those milestones yet.
But King, there you have a home nicely.
Okay, no. I hear what you say. Fair enough. But that's correct. That's definitely correct. Sort of like the societal pressure or the family pressure isn't matching up with how our lives are actually turning out in the real world that we live in now. Because that's another thing that we always have to consider is some of these milestones were set up by people who are living in a different world than us. You know what I mean? Because for instance, if you're growing up during like when there were lots of factory jobs, right? Then people who work factory jobs, they had that mindset. Like you were saying in one of the other podcasts, or you were educated for a factory job and then you start your factory job when you're young and you stay there and you just keep moving up. And that's how school was structured, which is you start young, you do enough and you move up. But now the world is so much different. Like you were saying earlier before we started recording, with COVID, everything has changed. Like we don't know what's the way up anymore, because we like this year has taught us that anything can change anytime. So the idea of by 25 you should have this, or by 35 you should have this, I think that, like 2020 proved to us all that that's all out the window, fam.
Yeah, true. And I also feel like this is why a lot of people are just so depressed, you know. Like we said, we have like society has these expectations around, okay, this is what you must have, you know.
By this time.
And if you know that age hits and you haven't gotten even one of those things, you feel like, what's wrong with me, you know. And I know a lot of people that have either are like very, very depressed, and some have even committed suicide over that. So it's real. The pressure is like very, very real, you know. And I do think that, like, you know, just going back to what you were saying, I do think that no society can function without healthy relationships. You know, I think that's the foundation that we need to kind of work on. And a lot of us don't even, like, our relationships with our parents, that kind of first relationship that we have with people is so broken.
Which is the
that,
baseline.
yeah, we're just like, okay, what's going on here? You know, I thought these people like had my back, and if that is not functioning well, then how do you move forward? You know, you rely on strangers to help you, and sometimes it's not like the best situation where you're not getting the best of advice from these kind of people, you know. So you just have to figure it out on your own and see, you know, what to make of your life. So it's tricky.
And that's the crazy thing is like, yeah, like if that baseline relationship is not good, then it sort of like sets you on a trajectory with the rest of your life. Like you've heard, or how like girls who come from not so good homes have daddy issues, you know what I'm saying? Like boys, same thing. Boys who come from not so good homes, they have mommy issues. And unfortunately, somewhere in the middle, there's a thing called trauma bonding, right? So then it's like, you're hurt,
Matches perfect.
and I'm hurt. Let's be hurt together.
I think it's also quite tricky because I think the relationship with your parents, and that's why you'll have a woman, for instance, who's in an abusive marriage, going home and they're like, hold it, babes.
Yeah.
Hold it. Just hold it. It
Musali
happens.
musali go hotel.
Yeah.
Some shit
And
like that.
you
Yeah.
know, and you can't go back home, and you have to, like, you go back home to only endure more pain and more suffering. And it's also that thing of what would people say. That's the culture of a lot of things now, and social media making everything so
Right.
accessible.
Social media hasn't helped.
And you don't, and you
What
can't go to
worry.
your friends. You can't go to your friends because it's like, hey, she's getting beat. They're at home.
So where do we turn? So clearly we need models. We need, because you can't do a thing you haven't, like, that's what the human is, right? Like we're
Monkey see, monkey do.
monkey see, monkey do. It's the mirror neurons, I think they call. It's like how we, in fact, how you became like this successful creature or whatever, is that we could vision things and
see what other people
and-
doing and
and
do it
practice
ourselves.
them, yeah.
Or see what other creatures are doing and do it ourselves.
Yeah, so now if we're saying that our baseline relationships
Not so great.
are not so great, where do we get? Because we're not gonna get it from media.
That's for
That's
sure.
They're not gonna help us.
That's for sure. That's for sure. No, what I would say is we must, and that's why I wanted us to be specific about, do black women know what black men want in a relationship, and do black men know what black women want in a relationship? Because our experience, did I just say the same thing twice? Is that
No.
right? Oh, no.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, our experience is very unique in the sense that we're the only race where throughout the world somebody has tried to subjugate us. Somebody has tried to be like, because of your dark brown skin or because of your brown skin, this is your place in society. Everyone else sort of finds a place in society, like, you know what I mean? Or decides what their place in society should be. We're the only ones who've always been told, no matter where we are on the earth, like, this is your, so we have to think about that. We have to think about, within the whole psychology of somebody trying to oppress you and make you feel like less, what does that do to you as a man? What does that do to you as a woman? What does that do to your relationships as men and women? You know what I mean? Like, like even our parents, because for instance, right, black mothers couldn't just be like, the world is yours, go do what you want. Because as a black boy, bro, if you want to go out into the world and do what you want, you might be Trayvon Martin, bro. Like, literally, like, this is the danger of being a black man in the world today is, you want to do what you want, you might end up Trayvon Martin. You know what I'm saying? Or what's the Koza guy in our country? Collins Koza. Yeah. You might end up Collins Koza. Do you know what I mean? So for us, it's always like tricky.
Yeah, he wasn't even out in the world.
He wasn't in his home. What we see. So that lets you know the relationship that our mothers have with us or our parents have with us is not the same as everybody else's, because at the same time as she's trying to encourage you to be all you can be, she also has to protect you from the powers that be.
I just want to go back to what you were saying around, and it's not specifically to like parent relationships,
Sure.
but around what black women knowing what black men want, right? So black women are not going to know what black men want unless they ask, right? And we have that honest relationship, and the black man knows exactly what it is that he wants in a relationship, and then we can
And vice
that,
versa.
right? Yeah.
But I think
vice versa. Yeah.
I think we're not at the stage where either can communicate effectively. And that's also because of the relationship. Like, you weren't allowed to talk back, you weren't allowed to have an opinion when you were young. I mean, in black families. You know, because you do as you're told and you move on. So in relationships now, you know, I'm not saying for all, but I'm saying for the majority.
No, it's facts. Well off because it's real. Well off because it's real. You can never be like, Mom,
But
I feel like you're bullying me.
Yes.
You're doing
okay, no, that nowadays will tell you.
Yeah.
But we weren't in a space where you can say, this is how I'm feeling, because as a man, you should be a man about it. And as a girl, you should hold it. And we can't.
Yes.
You can't say, And that's why a lot of arguments or a lot of misunderstandings are arguments. You know, it's not like, okay, let's work through it because it's seen as an argument and then it's, oh, she's got drama or he's got drama.
Yes.
Now you can't just sit and be like, okay, baby, this is how I'm feeling and this, you know, and then he's like, okay, how do we fix it? Now it's a, yeah, but you did, and
It's
but he
already
did,
escalated.
and she said,
It's
and
really
then it's late,
escalated.
and that's the biggest problem that we've got in our society and with relationships, and that's why most of my friends that have gotten married before 30 have divorced by 30.
Yeah.
And just adding to that, I feel like you're saying exactly what I've seen, and I feel like for the longest time it was my experience as well, where, you know, getting into relationships, it wasn't about building. You know, I've just been conditioned to, and because of the home environment as well, where I wasn't like able to speak up and, you know, like basically say what I feel. You go into this relationship wanting to conquer that person, right? So I have an idea of how this thing is supposed to work, and I'm going to do whatever it is that I can to make sure that it works out that way.
And
So
that
I'm
you
not
end up in
listening-
control.
Exactly.
Sure.
So I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm not listening to your feelings. I'm not listening to any of that. I'm just thinking about, okay, this is
These are the steps I have to take to
Yes,
maintain
well,
control or to
exactly.
gain control.
yes, and to reach that thing that society has pressured me to kind of want and feel like it's the thing for me, you know, in terms of
The
relationships.
picket fence, the kitchen.
Yeah, 2.5 kids.
And at the time you're so miserable, you know, but you know, to others outside it looks so perfect, you know, this is amazing, but internally you both know what's going on.
Social media doesn't help.
Yeah.
At all, because now we're all in competition
Like,
with
everyone's
each other.
watching.
And
Everyone's
lying to
watching.
each other.
Lying hard, even difficult to each other. We're lying
Selling
to each other.
dreams.
Selling each other dreams. But I
And
think.
actually, like,
Sorry.
sorry, bro.
No, go.
Okay, I just want to quickly, like, that financially, even, like, it always shocks me, and I know I bring it up often. It's still like, it's like, what?
You can't get over it.
I
Controls.
can't-
Controls, Brian. Controls.
Launch away, so cheat. On Instagram,
Controls.
munching trumps. So, like, the crazy statistics are such that if you're making 4K a month, you
You're
are
the
like
elite in South Africa.
balling.
In South Africa.
Elite.
That's insane, bro.
How?
Because we're all lying.
How? And it's like people with Birkin bags. Did you see that trend with Birkin bags? How
Yeah.
so and so has a Birkin bag, and you're like, how much is a Birkin bag?
I don't even know how much a Birkin bag costs,
It's like,
bro.
it's
How
like
much
a
is it?
lot of money.
How much is it?
Like it's got the zeros, a lot of zeros.
How many zeros? Let's be
Like a
real.
couple. I can't give you facts.
Oh,
But
is
it's
it?
really expensive.
Is it?
Whereby
Like
normal
in the
South
tens of
Africans- well,
thousands.
South Africans shouldn't actually be able to, or a
Afford
lot
it,
of,
considering that.
you know, to afford it.
But so that's what I wanted to say is that's what we have to consider, right? Is you must remember, Jorge, the whole reason why racism exists is because it's a race, fam. Like certain people have figured out certain things about human nature that they can exploit to their benefit, right? So then they come to you and sell it as if like, okay, we're the superior race, and in order for you to catch up in this race for supremacy, this is what you have to do, right? First, you're a landless, educationless kafir. And if you do what we say, right, then you can work yourself up to Tiger Woods, Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela. Then you are an accepted black. You're one of us now. Like,
But it's rough.
yeah.
Every time they give you a bar and you get there, then they shift the
They
bar.
bring it-
higher.
That's what it
And
is.
Exactly. You never
Dying.
reach it. Yeah.
You're like, I can't even begin to express how a lot of my friends, and myself included, die every day
True.
because we're overworked, we're underpaid,
Mhm.
and we're feeling underappreciated and
It's not even
undervalued.
true.
Yeah.
And it's
not
an
even
everyday
true.
thing.
Yeah.
And as women, it's even more rough. Well, as men, I would find it more rough because then you're expected to be the provider, to, you know, and those expectations that everyone else is posting on social media, you expect it. So it's like, but baby, so and so took his girl to the
Dubai.
spa.
To Dubai. Fuck a spa, bro. Dubai, dog.
Okay.
Dubai.
But let's be realistic. Dubai is a bit stretch.
What's
But
that
like,
chance? Do you know how many
normal
girls are dreaming of going to Dubai right now? They'll meet a regular nigga, like they met you go KFC, and they're like,
I think Dubai.
what you were saying, sure.
No, but that's my point. That's my point. And that's also why relationships fail. Is because white people are out here chilling on the beach with their booze. You know, we're out here trying to get pooped on in Dubai. Like, what the hell?
So, for me, that's exactly the point. Is that's exactly the point. Is like, we must remember we're coming from a different place to all of this, right? So, especially with things like social media, where everybody's flossing, and now you feel like you want to catch up. You must remember, you're not like, racism is a race, fam. You were not starting at the beginning of the start. Like, you were not starting on the same starting block as everyone else. Like, people intentionally made sure that you're 100 steps behind.
Generationally.
Yeah.
Generationally even. So that's why it's so important that in the ways that we treat each other as people who have been formerly oppressed, it has to be a different language, a different type of treatment, because instead of just like bonding on the trauma, right? Instead of just bonding on the trauma, we need to be like the ones that are actually like uplifting each other. Like, listen, I know as a black woman, this is what you've gone through. This is how the world sees you. But the way like you and I are going to empower each other, which means to me, this is how I'm going to see you, this is how I'm going to treat you. Until the way that I see you and the way that I treat you is replicated in the world. Because in my eyes, you're a queen. And that's how the world should see you. But unfortunately, the world doesn't. You know what I mean? Because to them, you're still just a nigga bitch.
But unfortunately, the dynamics are not so simple because we are oppressed even in our relationships, right?
We oppress each other also. We
It's not
internalize
even
the
that.
oppression.